Hello Raptors fans, and welcome back to Raptors Report. Today we'll be discussing the Toronto Raptors game against the Charlotte Hornets. But before we do that, we've got to cover a couple of topics today. The first of which is that the Toronto Raptors have clinched the 7th best odds in the draft lottery, with the San Antonio Spurs winning last night against the Golden State Warriors on an insane buzzer beater by Harrison Barnes. Really cool play there. We're also going to be talking about Jonathan Mogbo, and we're going to be breaking down what he's been capable of doing over the past couple of weeks or so, because he has taken a step and has shown me a little bit of something. And also I'll just mention just right off of the bat that we skipped the last episode. I apologize for that. There were a couple of people who were pretty disappointed, but I just want to say sorry about that. There were some unforeseen things that happened, and everything is fine. But yeah, just want to mention that so that, you know, I can atone for my sins and give you a good episode today. So yeah, we will be talking mostly about Jonathan Mogbo because Jonathan Mogbo had a really special performance last night, and I'm going to explain just how special it is, but he has been doing a lot more, and I kind of wanted to do a bit of a season retrospective and talk about kind of what he has been up to this season, what kind of a prospect he is, what I'm excited about with his game, all that good stuff. So let's just jump right in and talk about what he was able to do last night, which was score 17 points, collect 10 rebounds, and also net 11 assists. And yes, you counted correctly. That is a triple-double. That is the first triple-double of his career. And here are some very fun factoids that were mentioned on the broadcast. If you didn't catch the game, there are a bunch of really cool benchmarks that he was able to pass. So he is the first rookie on the Toronto Raptors since Damon Stoudemire, who was obviously the Toronto Raptors pick in their inaugural season. He was their first rookie, the rookie of the year, and he was able to notch a triple-double. And since then, no other Toronto rookie has been able to collect a triple-double, not even Scotty Barnes, who has obviously reached that mark a number of times in his career, but Jonathan Mogbo was able to reach that yesterday. And in fact, he is the first rookie this season to collect a triple-double. Those are two very important distinctions and very cool things to have under his belt this season. So congratulations to him for doing that. And so I wanted to take a look at what he's been doing lately and give you a breakdown and look at all of the stats and kind of figure out what we can expect from him maybe next season, because I've been very pleasantly surprised with what he's been able to do. So looking at his April stats, so he's played 5 games in April, and they've been very good. So in the month of April, he is averaging 11 points, 7.5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.2 steals, 0.8 blocks per game, 2.5 turnovers per game on 56% true shooting percentage in 31 minutes per game. So he's been getting a lot more opportunities, both with the ball and just in terms of minutes, because the Toronto Raptors, you know, winning isn't important right now. And in fact, it was pretty good that they didn't win a bunch of games because now they're free and clear. They can do whatever they want to. They have clinched the 7th best odds. And yeah, they can play guys like Jonathan Mogbo as many minutes as they want to. And what we're seeing over this time frame is the emergent two-way play of Jonathan Mogbo. Also, to go along with that, I mean, it's offensive, it's part of the offensive side of the ball, but the passing has been really good, and it's been a highlight and something that, you know, makes him an exciting prospect for, you know, future seasons. In years past, prior to another player emerging as, you know, a championship level player, Mogbo would maybe not be seen as, you know, somebody worth investing a ton of time into. But there is one player that he kind of looks a little bit like. If you blur your eyes, squint a little bit, you can kind of see a player that has been on multiple championship teams. And I've made the comparison before, and that is obviously Draymond Green. I'm sure if you've been watching the Raptors or you've been following any content creators or listening to any podcasts, I'm sure that this has come up a little bit. In fact, the moment he was drafted, once I started looking into that and sort of looking at the stat sheet and kind of seeing what type of prospect he is, Draymond Green was the comparison that some people were making, and it still remains a pretty compelling comparison. That is somebody that you would hope that he would be able to, you know, live up to. If he were able to get to that level, that would be a huge windfall for the Toronto Raptors. And because Draymond Green exists, a player like Jonathan Mogbo is actually pretty appealing because, once you've won a couple of championships as one of the best players on a championship level team, one of the best defenders in the league, that type of player archetype actually starts to become something that you can consider to build your team around or with that type of player in mind. So I'm pretty excited about him as a prospect. I don't think it's likely that he reaches that level of Draymond Green, but in terms of player archetype, that's something that you should consider. Since the beginning of April, since his huge minutes bump, they're letting him handle the ball a ton, way more than usual. His number of touches on the team has gone way up. He is number 2 on the team in the month of April in touches, just below Jamal Shead, which means that he is able to have more of an impact on the offensive side of the ball. And he's rewarded the Raptors by giving some pretty solid production. Another guy that you could compare him to is kind of like a break in case of emergency Scotty Barnes, a guy who maybe isn't the greatest shooter, is a good defender, can pass the ball, handle it a little bit, can finish plays around the rim, do all of that kind of stuff. They're pretty similar players, and it's nice to have some positional duplication. I think they can play alongside of each other in stints as well, so just wanted to throw that out there. Jonathan Mogbo, as a player, has a high level of processing ability for a forward center. That's kind of the appeal of him as a prospect. And the one thing that has kind of plagued him in his young career, one thing that has not been to the level that you would hope for in terms of an NBA caliber player, especially at the forward and center spot, is the finishing. That has been his major issue. His touch on his floaters, his ability to get the ball into the basket once he gets into the paint, has not been up to snuff. I think that his ability to get to the rim, especially, on cuts and short drives with the ball in his hands after maybe, a pump fake, I think that all looks pretty good. I think his ball handling is actually decent for a player of his size. The unfortunate part is that he is not able to beat the help defense. He struggles against the help defense when the center comes over and provides the contest around the rim. He can't really finish around the basket, especially through contact. He can make up for this by, making a competent pass to another player who might be more open than him, but he struggled with the finishing. However, in the month of April, I've noticed that there has been a change in the process. It seems like he has really decided to dunk more. This might be the level of competition a little bit, but I also think that, he's just trying to finish that way more often. And there has been a big kind of explosion in terms of his finishing with that play. He's gone, the month prior, he was under 50% true shooting percentage. In fact, for the post-All-Star break, he's under 50% true shooting percentage, but in the month of April, he is up to 56% true shooting percentage, which is not fantastic. I think a lot of that is due to his three-point shooting, which is not very good, but it's a lot better than it was. And I think that is the reason he's just simply dunking the ball more. He's not having to rely on his touch, which may not be his strong suit. One of his best abilities as a player has been his ability to get out in transition. A lot of the time he is able to rebound the ball and then get going. So handle the ball at the beginning of transition and make a good outlet pass to another teammate who is, further ahead of the play, closer to the basket. He's good at outlet passes. Another thing that we've seen from him is that he is good at stealing the ball. So off of a turnover, he's able to create a fast break, and then he can finish it himself. He can, run down. He's very athletic and quick on his feet. He can get all the way down to the other end when he steals the ball. So that is a very good way of generating offense, is by doing it with your defense. Great, love to see it. Speaking of defense, he is a very good defender. That has been his calling card. Even when he wasn't playing very well on offense, he has been a very good defender for the Toronto Raptors in a number of ways. And let's break down, because I've dug into the stats, and I'm going to give you some very tantalizing statistical tidbits that you can feast on and, maybe get a little bit excited about. So first of all, he is number 1 on the team per 36. So all of this is done per 36 on the team. And I have created a threshold of only players who have played over 500 minutes on the team, so as to remove players who have a lower sample size that might skew the results. Like Ulrich Chomche is like at the top of this list in many different categories, but he's played under 100 minutes. So a lot of that is just, garbage time, small sample size theater. So I just want to put that out there. So eliminating those players, he is number 1 on the team in deflections per 36 minutes, which is great. When he is on the floor, he is a very disruptive defender. He's getting in the passing lanes, creating turnovers. He's very good at coming over and providing help in the post and poking away, post passes. He's very good at reading plays before they develop. He's good at moving his feet and getting to places with his athleticism. That's reflected in the deflections. Next up, he is number 2 on the team in loose balls recovered per 36 minutes after Orlando Robinson. So anytime the ball hits the deck or there's a scramble, he is there to come in and get the ball. He is number 2 on the team in steals per 36 minutes behind Scotty Barnes. He is number 3 on the team per 36 in shot contests. So when there is a play on the floor, he is very willing to come over, provide help. He is a really good closeout defender. When there's an X out, like there's a free man on the perimeter who's gotten hit with a pass at the 3-point line, he's long, he's athletic, he's quick, he can get to that spot, and he is not a guy who is out of control. I love that about him. Another thing is that he holds players below the league average in terms of field goal percentage on the shots that they attempt. He is not as good as other bigs on the team. So Pirtle, Orlando Robinson, and Scotty Barnes are better at contesting shots around the rim. But in terms of Mogbo, he's kind of what you would expect. He is not a center-sized player. He is a forward center, which is fine. He has different skills, but it's comforting to know that he does drop players' percentages, even if it is only slightly. So what sticks out with him is the activity level. He is all over the place. He is getting and trying to put out fires on the perimeter and on the inside. He contests tons of shots. He creates deflections. He's kind of a menace on that end. He moves his feet very well. He has good hands. And he does this without fouling that much. That is a very impressive thing for a rookie. They usually pick up tons of fouls, and especially players that are as active as he is. There's a way for rookies not to pick up a ton of fouls, and that's just by not playing defense very much. He plays a lot of defense, and he does it without fouling that much. His foul rate is the same as Jakob Poeltl's per 36. Love that. Love that. Another thing that he is very, very good at is guarding the pick and roll and switching. So one of the things that happens is that a lot of the time, as you may know, the Raptors employ a defensive strategy. They like to go over the screen, but they also like to switch on the pick and roll. And when that happens, a lot of the time, Mogbo will be the player that switches out onto the perimeter player, the ball handler. In situations where he is guarding the ball handler in the pick and roll, he is in the 98th percentile in the league in defending that play. And you would think like, oh, okay, this is just small sample size, doesn't happen that often. Okay, a big defending on the perimeter, a big guarding the ball handler. This is going to be a tiny sample size. Not true. He is facing that play 4 times a game. And he is, I believe, holding players to 0.69, nice, points per possession, which is fantastic. 98th percentile just goes to show just what he's capable of doing. On the flip side, so that's the good news. The bad news is that unlike a guy like Draymond Green, who's an excellent post defender, Jonathan Mogbo is not a good post defender. So he is in the 6th percentile in that kind of play, and it happens a decent amount, so 2.5 times per game. And it's about his size, and I don't think that he is maybe as long in terms of his arm length and standing reach as a guy like Draymond Green. And another thing about Draymond Green is that, there's 2 things happening with him, is that he is very handsy and he tries to create turnovers. If you've ever watched him play in the post against other post players. He is trying to strip the ball away from you. If you bring it down, he's going to try and smack the ball away. And a lot of the time he's allowed to kind of foul and he plays a little dirty. And the refs kind of let him get away with it because of his defensive reputation. I don't want to put it all on that, but he is more disruptive in the post. And even if he's a smaller player, he can hold his own down there. So it might be a strength thing. It might be a length thing. It might be something like that. But that's an area of growth that you would hope that he would be able to get better at as he gets older and maybe a little bit stronger. Okay, now let's flip to the other end. So in April, as I mentioned when I started off, he is number 2 on the team in terms of touches per game after Jamal Shed, which means that he is not only playing more minutes, he is also getting a larger slice of the pie. They are putting the ball in his hands and saying, you know, make something happen. And he has made something happen, as we saw last night, the triple-double. That's fantastic. He's also number 2 on the team in April in terms of passes made and assists, and both of those obviously after Jamal Shed. One of the downsides that has happened and has emerged since the All-Star break has been a downtick in his three-point shooting. So he went from around a 34% three-point shooter pre-All-Star break on, you know, a decent amount of attempts per game, like a little under 1, which is okay considering his minutes, blah, blah, blah. He was a better shooter before the All-Star break. Post-All-Star break, he has gone down to 16% from 3, and I might have an explanation for that, and I might have an explanation for perhaps his kind of lack of finishing since the All-Star break. And I think it might have to do with the mask that he is wearing. The mask is obviously a bothersome thing for some players. Not everybody can be Rip Hamilton, the famed shooting guard for the Detroit Pistons. During their time atop the Eastern Conference, he wore that clear face mask, and the masked man, you know, he hit a whole ton of shots, but most players don't like playing with that mask, and I think it might be, you know, hurting, especially the shooting percentages of Jonathan Mogbo. I'm not going to say it's, you know, this is a theory of mine. He wasn't a great finisher prior to that, so it might just be, you know, a condition of him as a player, but with the big downtick in three-point shooting, that might be an explanation. Now, let's move away from the quantitative analysis, and we will move to a qualitative analysis. We will be talking about what I'm seeing from him, what I like from him, maybe projecting forward. I think that he has looked really good, especially lately in April, especially when he has seemed to flip the switch and become more aggressive, more about dunking the ball. And it seemed like he should have been doing that from the beginning. Perhaps he was adjusting to the NBA. He was perhaps fearful of getting his shot blocked or blowing a dunk in an embarrassing way or whatever. But the guy is very athletic. He may not be big for a center, but he is a pretty big guy for, you know, a player. He's like 6'8", 6'9", well-built, pretty strong, long, and has really good springs. He can jump quite high and get to places quickly. You would assume, you look at that player and you'd say, oh, he is going to be dunking multiple times a game. Prior to very recently, within, I'd say, basically April onwards, he was not dunking, in my opinion, enough. And this is something like, I don't want to, this is not all post-facto analysis. This isn't stuff that I'm saying now that he has started dunking, I've noticed. This is what I was saying a while ago, like January, you know, November maybe even, when I was talking about him as a player, was this guy should be dunking. Time to dunk the ball more. You can do it. And it seems like he has realized that he can do it. And now he's doing it. And the uptick in his efficiency is very noticeable. He is finishing a lot of plays. I feel like playing with Jamal Shed has helped because Jamal is very good at finding players who are cutting, very good at placing passes accurately, and he can dunk, you know, on alley-oops. He doesn't quite have to manufacture everything himself. It's easier to catch and finish an alley-oop than it is to maybe drive into the paint and do it yourself. So, and there's another thing that I want to mention is that most of his shots are still, even in April, still assisted on. So he is not, you know, doing wingy stuff where he's able to isolate and drive to the rim all by himself and dunk the ball or anything like that. The most of his unassisted plays are in transition. So something else I've noticed. But back to the qualitative analysis. On defense, he has always been a good player. I noted this in the preseason even. I'd be like, okay, well, he didn't have a very good game from an offensive perspective, but the defense was great. Because if you watch the game and you have an eye open for the movement of players around the court, and even if you're not keying in on him necessarily, he will do stuff that pops, that you'll be like, oh, okay, he's, this was a great closeout, or he stole the ball here, or he was able to cut off penetration here or there. He was able to make a play around the basket. That was a tough rebound, blah, 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 blah. Was doing that kind of stuff way back at the beginning of the season in like October. So that's not a new thing. What is new is the offensive process, which I have enjoyed quite a bit, but the defense has been kind of his calling card since day one. And I think that that's what you can project moving forward. Maybe the offense is still up in the air, but the defense, I think, should be good for his career. I've been very impressed with it. On the other hand, I do want to give him some props on the offensive end. So one of the player comparisons that was made, I think it's a bit of a lazy comparison, although I see why people make it, is to Precious Achiuwa. And so on the defensive end, there's a lot of similarities. So what was Precious Achiuwa good at? He was very good at moving his feet, swiveling his hips on defense, staying in front of players, making defensive plays. So very similar there. On offense, similar issues, especially with finishing. I think Precious has actually improved there in terms of the finishing. But with the Raptors, he was inconsistent, and he also should have been dunking it a little bit more, and his touch around the rim wasn't great. He was a little undersized for position, similar problems. However, here's the big difference. Precious Achiuwa has processing issues. Mentioned many times covering this team, Precious Achiuwa, the game moves a little too fast for him. And if he doesn't keep it simple and play within his role, he can make big time mistakes. It is better when he has a limited role, he comes off of the bench, he knows what he should be doing, and plays within the confines of that role. And he can be an effective role player. He's been an effective role player for the New York Knicks in a small role where everything is very neatly defined, and he doesn't have to, think that he has all of this offensive freedom that maybe you don't want him to have. On the other hand, when you're talking about Jonathan Mogbo, the processing is great, especially if you consider him a big. He has great processing. He has a really good ability to make passes, find players when they're open. You can run sets through him. As I mentioned, you can give him touches and you can say, help us run the offense. Go out and make something happen. And maybe he turns the ball over like a decent amount. He has 2.5 turnovers in the month of April per game. But the assists, it's about a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. And I think that's pretty similar for his career so far. Because you can give him the ball and he'll try and make something happen, especially with the passes. And it looks good. The process is good. The passing is good. The feel is good. I trust him on offense. Complete polar opposite from, say, Precious Achiuwa. And in terms of where I see him, like where I'm projecting him, I think that it's about the finishing. I think that what he has shown me, especially on the defensive end, is that I think that there's a baseline there where I am very comfortable bringing him back and giving him a role on the team moving forward. I think he will be a capable bench forward center with the opportunity to do more and be more of I could see his minutes increasing. I could see him becoming the primary big off of the bench. I could see him taking on a bigger role. If he is a, 55 to 60% true shooting percentage player, he is going to have a long career in the NBA. The defense is there. The passing is good. And if the finishing is at an acceptable rate, league average, maybe a little slightly better, just because he's not, a primary creator, you'd hope that he'd finish a little bit better. If he's in that range, he's going to be in the league for a long time. If he doesn't, if he is below or at or around 50% true shooting percentage, he's going to be a limited player, and maybe he gets there just based on the other stuff that he brings to the table, but it would be hard to justify having that player in a playoff rotation. If you're to ask me, I'm an optimist. I like what I'm seeing, especially with what he's been doing recently. But obviously, I'd love to see more from him. I'd love to see this translate. I'd love to see him continue to get better in the offseason. And the only thing is that, I mean, in terms of rookies and getting better, I'm an optimist. One thing I have to note, and this might be on the negative side, is that he is an older rookie. He's 23 years old, so he's a similar age to Scottie Barnes, for example. Scottie obviously came up as a freshman. Jonathan Mogbo was a junior. I think it caps maybe what you can expect from him. This guy isn't going to make quantum leaps from where he is, but I've seen enough that I'm pretty confident that he could become an NBA role player, especially maybe a bench contributor, part of the bench mob moving forward. In any case, that is my evaluation on Jonathan Mogbo because he was very exciting. And that goes pretty well into the next section, which is what the Raptors were able to do last night. So we will do a hop, skip, and a jump over to the player evaluations. And it's not hard to find out who was the best player in this game because we have been talking about him. We have been extolling his virtues. The best player in last night's game against the Charlotte Hornets was Jonathan Mogbo. Wow, surprise, surprise, the guy with the first rookie triple-double of the season from any rookie was the player of the game. And he played 38 minutes. The coaching staff kept him out in the game a little longer than probably was necessary in terms of winning the game, but in terms of letting him get to reach the triple-double, they kind of wanted to reward him, and why not? The San Antonio Spurs hadn't won the game at that point, but the Raptors had easily won this game. This was a laugher, especially in the second half. They ran away with the game. It was not close. The Hornets are absolutely terrible, so they let him just kind of do whatever he wanted to. And what he was doing was exciting, fun, impactful. He had 17 points on 7 of 16 shooting, so not the most efficient. And here's why. He was 1 of 5 from 3. So his three-point shooting continues to struggle. Maybe it's the mask, maybe it's not. He was 2 of 2 from the free throw line, 10 rebounds, 11 assists, 3 steals, 0 blocks, 4 turnovers, and only 1 foul. He was just a force on both ends of the court. He was making plays. He had a bunch of, breakaway fast breaks where he was able to steal the ball, slam it. The assists, I think, were the most impressive part of this game. He had a bunch of beautiful dimes. Beautiful. He had a really nice one to Garrett Temple, who was able to finish a really athletic layup at the age of, I believe, 38. So congrats to him. He had a really nice bounce pass hitting Jamison Battle in stride, and Jamison Battle was able to throw down a really nice looking one-handed jam. He was, in the pick and roll. He was doing a whole bunch of stuff with the ball in his hands, making very nice reads. I loved it. I thought it was great. And obviously on defense, he's bringing it too. And we've already talked about him at length, so we don't need to go too in depth here. Just needless to say, he had a very impressive game. Next up, we'll go to, it's kind of interesting because we have to talk about the youngsters, the guys who maybe don't get as much shine because the season is winding down. They're playing a lot of cream puff teams these days, and the Charlotte Hornets are one of the worst teams in the league. So, you get a lot of burn for your younger players, but there were some veterans playing last night. Scottie Barnes was one of them. And he had a great game. He had 17 points on 7 of 15 shooting. And unlike Jonathan Mogbo, he actually brought his efficiency up with his three-point shooting. So he also shot 5 three-point attempts in this game, and he made 3 of them. So that's a good sign. He didn't draw any free throws, but he did also have a double-double, not a triple-double, but he had 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 0 steals, 1 block, 1 turnover in only 20 minutes. So Jonathan Mogbo had the more impressive statistical line, but yeah, Scottie Barnes was a cut above in this game. He played about half the minutes, 20 minutes to 38, and he put up a pretty similar stat line. 17 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 block in 20 minutes is pretty crazy statistical production. He was fantastic. He was just really good. Made a bunch of really nice plays. He was splashing threes. There was a bit of an issue. I feel like his mid-range shot was money earlier in the season, and now it's kind of fallen off. I think that he did require those threes to drop in order to have an efficient game. But, it's hard to argue with almost 20-point double-double in just 20 minutes. Hard to ask for more than that. Next up, we'll go to Immanuel Quickley. Immanuel Quickley only played 14 minutes in this game, but he had a good shooting night. He had 8 points on 3 of 6 shooting. It was 2 of 5 from 3. And there was one point in this game when Scotty Barnes and Immanuel Quickley were just splashing threes on the Charlotte Hornets. It just put them out of the game. It was a KO, pretty much second round knockout for the Toronto Raptors as a result of Quickley and Scotty Barnes heating up. And that's why he only played 14 minutes in this game. He had 8 points with 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 0 steals, 0 blocks, 0 turnovers. And it was just not really a contest. I think they wanted to give other guys some shine, so he only played 14 minutes, but he had a really good 14 minutes, so we'll put him here. Next up, we will go to Orlando Robinson. Orlando Robinson, I think, had a pretty good defensive night. He had 9 points on 4 of 10 shooting. He was 0 of 4 from 3, so the shot kind of, easy come, easy go. Is it a real thing? Is it fake? I'm not really sure at this point. But it wasn't on last night. He was 1 of 2 from the free throw line, but he did have 12 rebounds, 5 of them offensive. That's a really good number to hit. 3 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks, 1 turnover. I think that he did a good job of guarding Jusuf Nurkic. Jusuf Nurkic, I'm not a big fan of him. I don't like his attitude. I don't like his interviews. I don't like the way he plays. I think he's very inefficient, but he did have a good game last night. He had 26 points on 19 shots, 12 of 19 shooting. I think a lot of that came against players other than Orlando Robinson. I think Orlando Robinson did a pretty decent job guarding Jusuf Nurkic, and it's useful to have a player like Robinson, who is big and strong and can guard players that play bully ball. I think he did an okay job there, although, Jusuf Nurkic did have a good night, even though I'm not a big fan of his. But he's a consistent rebounder. He makes a good, he doesn't make many mistakes. His problem is the finishing, and he's trying to make up for that with the 3-point shooting, but unfortunately he didn't get there. I don't know. Last but not least, I'm going to say, I think that he had a pretty good night. I think he got up a ton of shots. RJ Barrett, he had 11 points on 4 of 11 shooting, so not the most efficient, but he did have a good shooting night, like shooting the 3. He was 3 for 7 from 3, which is pretty good. 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 steal, 0 blocks, 0 turnovers. 14 minutes per game. He got up a bunch of shots and he made some of them, and I think he had an okay game. Nothing to write home about, but a decent game. Off of the bench. So there are a couple of guys who are auditioning, more than a couple of guys. There's some players that are trying to crack the Toronto Raptors, perhaps, for next season. And there was one guy who was really impressive, and I think would be my pick in terms of the call-ups and the 10-day guys, the two-way players. There's one player in particular that I think the Toronto Raptors should consider bringing back off of the bench, and that player is Jared Rhoden. So AJ Lawson has also been good. He has been shooting the ball well, and he can come off screens and shoot it. But I would say Jared Rhoden, in terms of overall game, in terms of kind of what he's able to provide, in terms of inside-out scoring, playmaking, defense, rebounding, that kind of thing, I think that he's shown me something. And it's worth noting that he was more productive and kind of a better player on the Raptors 905, so there's a sample size there as well that should be considered. But last night he had a very good game, 23 points on 12 shots, unbelievably efficient. He was 3 of 5 from 3, so he was splashing threes. He was perfect from the free throw line, 4 of 4. He had 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks, 1 turnover. He's a good athlete. He can pass the ball. He's like a wing. He's just like a very stereotypical wing. He can do a little bit of everything. And if the shooting looks pretty real from both of these players, him and AJ Lawson, like they've been able to hit shots against a lot of the teams in the league, not just the bad ones. Although I think that definitely there was some, Mickey Mouse March, or I guess in this case, Mickey Mouse April going on here, because the Charlotte Hornets are atrocious, especially off of the bench. There's not a lot of NBA talent there. And guys like Jared Rhoden, who are bubble guys, who are like kind of on the cusp of being NBA players, who have skills and can do stuff, they're going to look a lot better against guys who are like true scrubs, like who are garbage On the Charlotte Hornets, I don't want to be too mean, but like some of the call-ups are just not of the same caliber as the Raptors call-ups. The Raptors scouts have done a good job of bringing up guys who are like, Colin Castleton's no longer on the team, but he was okay. Orlando Robinson, he was a call-up. He's been pretty productive. AJ Lawson has been very productive. Jared Rhoden has been very productive. The scouting of these bubble guys, these kind of, players that are on the cusp of perhaps being an NBA rotation player, has been top-notch for the Toronto Raptors. They've been doing a lot of work on the margins, finding guys like Jamison Battle, like, wow, undrafted, finding guys in the second round, Jonathan Mogbo, Jamal Shed. They've done a lot of work and have impressed me and given me some hope moving down the line that they're going to make the right choice and find players who are able to contribute for the Toronto Raptors. And I think Jared Rhoden, if they are going to bring somebody back, I would consider him. I like his all-around game. Next up, we'll go to AJ Lawson, because, if I'm going to be bigging up Jared Rhoden, I got to big up this guy too. Both of them played around 30 minutes a game. Jared Rhoden played 30 minutes. AJ Lawson played 28. He had 14 points on 5 of 9 shooting. So not quite as efficient as Jared Rhoden, but also just, pretty good. He was 2 of 5 from 3. He was 2 of 4 from the free throw line, so slightly less efficient, but he had 6 rebounds, 7 assists. That is pretty incredible when I watched the stat sheet. I don't remember a ton of them, but, his weak point, I would say, over the past, couple of weeks has been the fact that he is, very trigger happy. He likes to shoot the ball. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that's, some players are like that. We've seen contributors over the years, Chris Boucher, etc., who are very much in that same vein. But 7 assists, that's pretty impressive. 1 steal, 0 blocks, 0 turnovers. I think he had a really solid game. He had a bunch of exciting plays. He had right off of the bat, coming off of once he entered the game, he was able to come off of a screen, curl above the arc, and then just knock down a catch and shoot movement 3, which was very pretty. I really liked seeing that. And maybe they could bring both of them back. I wouldn't be too opposed to that. I've seen enough from him where I'm thinking, this guy, there's something there. I like what I'm seeing. Next up, we'll go to Garrett Temple. So Garrett Temple only played 9 minutes in this game, but man, he made them count. He had a really exciting game. Yeah, 9 points in 9 minutes, so a point a minute for Unk. He was balling out. Unk still got it. 9 points on 4 of 6 shooting. He was 1 of 3 from 3-point range, 1 assist, 2 steals, no other stats. He was filling the lane in transition. He was getting out there. He was the recipient of a bunch of nice passes from Jonathan Mogbo, so good on him. He is a leader in the dressing room, and he is showing he can still do it a little bit on the floor as well. Last up, the last guy we're going to be talking about is Jamison Battle. Jamison Battle had a sweet dunk. He made a couple of threes, although he was 2 of 8 from 3. He finished with 10 points on 11 shots, so not very efficient. 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 0 blocks, 0 turnovers, and I believe he's still over 40% from 3-point range on the season, although I'd still have to check that, but he's either over or very close to it. And he has impressed me. He looks like an NBA player. He looks like he is a shooter with a little bit of stuff sprinkled on around the edges there. He is a pretty good rebounder, and he can make plays. He can do some stuff. It's not all shooting. And he had I would say, a disappointing shooting night, but an okay game overall. So yeah, that was the game. This was no contest. The Hornets are not really looking to win games. They're looking to, pump up Yusuf Nurkic's stat line, I guess. Nick Smith Jr. had a good game. He can play. He was 6 of 9 from 3. That's pretty impressive. This just was not a contest. Again, mentioned at the very top of the show, but I'll mention it again now. The Toronto Raptors can no longer move up or down in terms of draft odds. They're locked in at 7. So there's no tank. You don't have to worry about that anymore. The Toronto Raptors could bring back all of their players and see what they've got here. They could win out. It doesn't matter at all. In fact, I'd love to see that. The only issue with that is that Brandon Ingram, I believe, just got an injection in his ankle to repair some damage to increase the healing. I'm not exactly sure how it works. I'm not a doctor or anything, but it looks like he is out for the season. He's not going to play, even though I would have liked to see that they let him undergo the procedure, so he's out. But in terms of playing their players now, they rested a bunch of players last night, but they don't have to anymore. They can win out, and I'd like to see that. I'd like to see them just really put the screws to a bunch of teams and show what they're capable of at near full strength. And they will be playing again tomorrow at 8:30 City against the Dallas Mavericks. And then finally, the end of the season, the Toronto Raptors, both of those games are on the road. So Mavericks and the Spurs are on the road. The Raptors have no more home games. So, little teardrop, final home game of the season, and a bunch of sign-offs. And it was all very, bittersweet. Another season kind of in the bag, and we're just winding down, only 2 more to go, and then it will be the playoffs. I have a couple of ideas for the playoffs, and I'll run some polls either on Twitter or here on YouTube, and I'll let you know about that. But in any case, that is the episode. What do you think of Jonathan Mogbo? Do the Raptors have someone on their hands? Is this guy Draymond Green 2.0? Is he not going to get there, but, worth investing time in? Or do you think that it's just all smoke and mirrors, Mickey Mouse March in April? There could be a bunch of opinions on this guy, but I'd love to know what you think. Let me know here in the comments, and also on Twitter and on Blue Sky, where you can reach me at Raps Report. I love talking to Raptors fans. We are the best fan base in the NBA. Don't let anybody tell you differently. And if you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon. Let the algorithm know that this is content that should be recommended to Raptors fans. And as always, thank you for tuning in to Raptors Report, your source for in-depth Raptors content.